here. And over here, start. So if you need the Wi-Fi password, it's on that whiteboard over there with the spaces too. It's yeah, I know it's kind of weird. It has the spaces there.
Is that a Camino?
Which one? This one? Oh no, these are Go 4Ds.
Go 4Ds?
Go 4D, like 4 dimensions, like Go. Yeah, they're pretty good.
Does it work with like any iPhone? Or?
It works with iPhone too. Yep. Yeah,
Go 4D, I'll look that up.
Yeah, they're pretty good. You could try it out.
Is this the room you always do the classroom?
Sometimes it's here, sometimes it's over there. Huh? Yeah, so yeah, so you look around, and in this particular app, yeah, you just put it up to your face.
Oh, sweet.
And you can tap the screen.
Oh, okay.
Yeah, so it should work without glasses too. You should be able to put it all the way up, and then it should be really sharp.
No, that's really cool. Okay, nice. Go 4D?
Yeah. Yeah, so if anyone needs Wi-Fi, it's on the whiteboard over there. You know what? I'm also going to write it up here in case people need it. Did this thing turn itself off just now? I heard it. Park sauce. What's the last word?
Last word is sign.
Sign?
S-I-G-N.
So it's editor.
Hmm?
Spot. Begin park sauce editor sign.
Editors? Oh, sign, editor. Oh, wait.
Oh, it's editor.
Editor. Oh, yeah, right. Editor, sign. Welcome, welcome. Yeah, just grab a seat anywhere you'd like. Still got some seats open here in the front. Maybe you'll have to do it from the phone here. You can do that. Let's try to sync it up. No, it's just, maybe if you're not using the app, it's just... So yeah, that's the Wi-Fi password if anyone needs it. If you didn't bring your laptop, that's cool. We're just gonna be screen recording everything, so you can just watch it later.
Doesn't turn on?
Let's do it again. It has to. No, but it's if it's paired, sometimes it doesn't show up. So I already probably did it. What it's called. Yeah, device info. Maybe. No, it's not it. It's alright. Usually it has a sync feature somewhere. Sorry, no biggie. Just I guess just kind of started it up. Yeah, for those of you that are following, just as long as you have Unity installed, if you wanna export to Android or iOS, if you're on a Mac, I have like some of the links up on the meetup page in the comments here, the things you need to download. If not, it's fine. You could also check in later. But one of the interesting things about this stuff is that you know, a lot of people could teach you maybe like, you know, a simple like Unity class or something like that. But there's some VR specific things that come with when you're working with Google VR, when you're trying to export to Android and to iOS. There's always some weird errors that people get, and then they get really stuck, and then they get discouraged. But it's always something very silly, like you have the wrong tool version number or something like that. So I'm here to just kind of help you out with that and tell you exactly what things are needed. We'll try to just kind of make it in as simple a way as possible. But in the beginning, we're just gonna do some Unity basics. For those of you who don't know me, my name is Philippe. I'm the organizer of this meetup. So we're Unity Education NYC. If any of you are first time here, welcome. So we're a very chill, relaxed community. We all help each other out. There's always something interesting to learn at our lectures. This particular lecture happens to be a complete beginner lecture. So if you don't know anything about any of this stuff, that's totally cool. We're gonna do it like in a very simple and fun way. We're part of a company called AnyWorld. So we're a VR agency. We do all sorts of VR experiences for brands, real estate, and we also do these educational classes. So yeah, we're the organizers behind Unity Education. A lot of our classes that we do are here at ThoughtWorks. If some of you are going to Northside tomorrow and the day after, we'll be there too. So yeah, if you're into the whole tech fair stuff, we'll be there. So you might see us. Yeah, and if there's more seats needed, you could just feel free to pull them up from there and just find whatever spot's comfortable for you. I'll just give people a few more minutes to get settled in. All right. So by a raise of hands, how many people here are complete beginners at Unity? All right, good. Well, this class is for you, definitely. And if some of you are already kind of experienced in it or something, just bear with me for the first few minutes. It will be just the very basic stuff, but we'll get into some cool stuff in a little bit. But yeah, sometimes we host advanced lectures too. So in general, though, we try to create like as full of a curriculum as we can for many different skill sets and many different backgrounds. And whether you're a complete beginner or you already know some stuff, there's always something cool to learn. We try to host the meetup at least once a month. So this is like our regular monthly meetup. So yeah, if you ever want more and stuff, we're here. You can always find us. And also, we have a lot of resources online. So if you just go on anyworld.com down to our education programs, visit our VR Bootcamp part of the site. We have some content on there, and we also have a pretty decent YouTube channel. It's called Unity Education, where there's all sorts of content to learn, and yeah, and that's me. But yeah, I mean, everything is like an hour or 2 hours. So if you ever just want some extra training or some extra skills to learn, we have a bunch on our site. But the really cool thing about our meetup is that everything we do is very hands-on. So it's in person. A lot of times, many people can just learn from online. I personally am self-taught. I've been doing Unity for over 5 years. I've been doing 3D modeling and animation for over 10 now. So I always learn on YouTube and stuff. But I know that some people can get, you can get stuck sometimes. You'll follow all the tutorials, you'll do everything, and then you still aren't in the same place that the tutorial is. So that's why we're here. We're real people. So you can always feel free to ask me any question, especially after class. So after the lecture, we always just kind of mingle, hang out. If you have any project that you're working on, need maybe some help, some advice, feel free to come up and ask me. I don't bite. And yeah, I mean, I hope that this is going to be a good intro for VR development for many of you. What I wrote here on the meetup. So have you ever wanted to get into the VR industry but had no idea where to start? My best suggestion is, grab yourself like a pair of these kinds of goggles, like some Google Cardboards and a smartphone that you have in your pocket, and you're pretty much good to roll with developing VR content. I mean, goggles like this are very cheap. They're 20 bucks now, and VR headsets go up in range. Yes, it is. Grab a seat anywhere you'd like. And then they go up in range, you have all the way up to HTC Vive and Oculus. But the beauty of it all is that it's all still Unity. So you don't need to learn 3 or 4 different programming languages. All you need to know is just Unity. And some of you may have heard about the new announcements from Apple coming out with their AR kit and all that stuff. Well, guess what? That also works with Unity. So if you're a Unity developer or you're learning Unity, you're in the right place to be developing with what's just about to come out in the fall, which is the Apple AR kit, and that's promising to be a very, very good platform for developing this kind of stuff. I can tell you that in this industry, there is a lot of demand for these kinds of skills and not enough supply. So the more people that know this kind of stuff, the better, because the industry is really craving for talented individuals and that are willing to learn VR or AR, and that's really the beauty of it. So yeah, in any case, for those of you that just walked in, my name is Philippe. I'm the organizer. So we're gonna slowly just get started with this lecture. If you have your laptop and want to follow along, you can pull up your laptop. Hopefully you already have Unity installed. If you don't, install it. I have the Wi-Fi password right here, so I'm gonna keep that up there just for a few more minutes. Everyone, copy it down, take a photo of it with your phone, whatever you need to do, so that I don't have to keep pulling this up during the class. And if someone else asks for the Wi-Fi password, please be nice enough to give it to them. Yeah, what else? Yeah, but in any case, no pressure. This is all very, very, very relaxed. We're a very, very friendly community. Yeah, we have. We're gonna try to cover all of these topics today. I'm pretty confident that we can. If we need to go, over an extra hour or something, we do that sometimes. Take a little break. But for the most part, we'll condense everything in this 2-hour lecture. Yeah, so just gonna give people. Yeah, what's up?
I have a Windows laptop or
Yeah.
a Apple phone. Is there a way that I could export?
Nope. That's the thing. Apple restricts Apple development to iOS only. So Mac OS. So if you have an iOS device, you have to have a Mac to build from it. I know, it sucks, but it's just how it is. It's an Apple thing. But you know, you could get yourself like a cheap Android just for testing. You know, they make it pretty cheap now, so I would recommend that. It's actually, you know, it's definitely cheaper than getting a Mac just to be able to export. But yeah, I mean, there's you know, you don't even need to export. There's a lot of the tools in Unity you can kind of test from within the editor. So yeah, but unfortunately, if you're running a Windows machine or desktop, a PC, and you have an iOS device, those don't play together as nicely. But still, if you know, even if you're not exporting tonight, I will be exporting just to kind of show you how it works, and I'll pass around my phone, and everyone can kind of try the experience that we end up building tonight, so you can kind of get an idea of how it works. So yeah, without further ado, let's get started. So, anyone have any other questions before we start? Real quick. Yes.
So if you build the files exported from Unity on Mac, then you use those files to work on Windows later?
So I mean, when the working files, you can work on it anywhere. Yeah, it's just the exported. When you make an iOS project, it gives you an Xcode project. So you need to have Xcode running to be able to export, basically. But again, even if you're not exporting, you'll still have a lot of fun developing inside Unity, and you'll kind of get a preview and see how this stuff works. So yeah, let's just get started and just open up Unity. Some of you may be greeted with a screen like this, you know, learn, or it'll you know, have this like get started, hello video, welcome to Unity. Yeah. But what we want to go for is right here where it says new. So you want to just click new. And also, if anyone has any trouble seeing anything, let me know. I'll try to zoom it in. If everyone can see clearly, I'll just keep going. But yeah, so just click new, and then we're going to create a new project. So in project name, let's just call this project VR Beginner. I'm going to say 1 because I already have a VR Beginner project. But yeah, you can name it anything you want. It's up to you. And then you just click create project. And you should be greeted with a screen that looks kind of like mine, but it'll probably have the white skin. The reason why I have the dark skin is because I'm using Unity Pro. It's supposed to be good on the eyes, whatnot. So it's just one of those features. But don't be alarmed if yours looks gray. It's all still the same interface, the same features. So yeah, the most basic thing that you're probably going to notice right away is this 3D view here in the middle. So if you just hold right click here, and this is just a note for anyone that's a Mac user, this would be the time to bind your right side of your touchpad as right click instead of that double tap business, because a lot of what you're doing in Unity is you're going to be using right click and holding and moving around. So sometimes the double tap to right click that a lot of Mac users have is tricky. So yeah, just letting you know, if you have that, just go into your mouse settings and just bind the right side of the touchpad to right click. Yeah, but for, you know, everyone that's got their right click working, just if you just hold right click in this 3D view and you rotate your mouse around, you'll notice that you're doing this free look mode. So this is the main 3D view that all VR development, all 3D development and stuff is done in. A few other things that you can do in here is when you have the right click. Now some of you might be familiar with first person shooter games or just PC games in general. If you're not, that's totally cool. The way that you move around, and it's my most preferred way to move around, is by using, if you press the W key while you're holding right click here, you'll see that you move forward. So S would be backwards, A is left, and D. So you have just the W, A, S, D keys, kind of like forming the arrow keys, but it's the WASD here. Another way you can move around is you can use the, you can scroll in and out, zoom in and out, and you can also, if you have a mouse with a mouse wheel, you can hold the mouse wheel down to pan around. But again, my most recommended way for you to do this is hold right click and just WASD around, kind of like you're moving around in a first person shooter. So the first things that you'll probably notice here as well is that we have two objects in our scene right now. One, if you click it, is a camera, and another one is a directional light. So let's just look at this directional light for a second. Now, notice when you click on an object, the same object name gets highlighted over here in the left. Now, this left part is called the hierarchy. That's basically the list of all the objects you currently have in your scene. So right now we have a camera and a light. So same here, we have a camera and a light. Clicking it in here is the equivalent of clicking it in 3D. It's just kind of like another interface for you to get to your objects. But if you just click on something like the directional light, you'll notice that these little arrows, these multicolored arrows show up. Now, each of the arrows represents a direction in 3D space, such as X, Y, and Z. If you click and drag by one of these arrows, you'll notice you can move this object around in 3D space. And this is kind of how most 3D design and construction is done in this kind of environment. You're going to be kind of moving things into place. Now, another tool that I want to show you that's pretty cool is over here in the top left. See, right now I have the move selected. If you just click this second one right here, that's called the rotate tool. So you'll notice that the gizmos here change from those arrows to these kind of like spherical controls. Now, what you can do is you can actually grab by one of these little micro lines to rotate in the specific direction. And you can see that I'm actually rotating the sun. Or if you just grab by the middle of it, you kind of grab it by every axis, and you rotate it around. And you notice I'm moving around the horizon, so that's kind of like I'm deciding the direction of the sun, for example. So that's just our rotate tool and our move tool, right? So let's do something cool, right? So let's create our first 3D object. So if you go over here in the top where it says game object, 3D object, you'll have a list of primitives that you can use to kind of prototype with and do some simple creation. So the object that we want first is plane. So just click on right here, game object, 3D object, plane, and you should get a plane that looks something like that right there in the middle of your screen. So now this plane, you can move it around as well. Rotate it around and stuff. We won't do that right now. What we actually want to do is we want to grab the scale tool. So that's the third one over here. Now the scale tool is kind of similar to the move and the rotate. If you just grab by one of these, you'll kind of scale in that direction. Again, and if you ever need to undo and kind of go back, I'm just doing Control Z for undo. Whatever your undo key is, you can kind of keep undoing back a few steps. But what I actually want to do here is I want to scale this plane up some. So let's just kind of make it just a slightly bit bigger. And now you notice when I'm scaling this, I want you to pay attention over here on the right. You see where it says transform and you see scale? When I scale this up, you see how those numbers are increasing? That's because this is basically giving me the properties of the object that I currently have selected. So right now scale is at something like 1.6. Now I can scale from here imprecisely by moving my mouse, or I can actually set a set number. So what I want you to do is I want you to click here where it says scale and just put 5 in the X, 5 in the Y, and 5 in the Z, and then we'll get like a nice rounded 5x5 plane. So now we're going to do something really cool. And this is actually going to be a great example to show you just how simple it is to start pulling in some real life assets into Unity. So what I want you to do right now is I want you to go on Google, and I just want you to Google grass texture. Let me like grass texture. You go to Google Images, and you're going to want to look for a grass texture that's square, so that we can actually tile it. Usually the ones that are square are kind of have the seamless edges, and that's what we want to go for. So usually this third one will suffice, even though they have their watermark on there, but this is just a test project anyway, so it doesn't matter. So if you just click view image and you open like the original of the image, you just drag this to the desktop, or you can right click and save image as, whatever is more comfortable with you, but just drag it somewhere where it's comfortable.
The images that you're choosing for the environment,
they have to be a particular size, then the darker ones you have more.
You can use any kind of image, works, yeah. No, it doesn't have to be any particular size. Just for this effect that we're going for right now, you'll see why we're going for a tiled texture. So then once you have this grass texture here on the desktop, just drag it into this bottom part of the window here in the project view, like so. And we just created our first asset right here. It says grass. Then this is how simple it is to pull it into Unity. All you have to do is grab this grass texture and pull it onto your plane, let go, and voila. We just created a grass plane. Now, it's a little bit big, right? I mean, like, if I'm kind of close up to it, it's kind of, you know, very stretched. So what we're gonna do is you're just gonna click on this plane, and you'll notice now it has a grass material over here. So this whole right side is usually will just give you more details about the object that you currently have selected, whether it's like the directional light or the plane. So in this instance, we're working with the plane, and what I want you to do is I want you to open this material right here by clicking that little arrow. It's going to expand and it's going to have a few details there. So here you can tweak some material settings of the grass plane, like for example the smoothness. I'll take off the smoothness because grass isn't that smooth, right? So you know, I don't want this sun kind of reflecting into it, so I'm just going to put the smoothness all the way down. And what I'm looking for is this first tiling right here. You see where it says tiling X and Y? And I want you to make the X 5 and the Y 5, and we'll tile it 5 by 5. So we're basically multiplying the texture and, you know, creating more detail in here. Very simple, right? So this is just like a quick way of just pulling something off of Google, and see how easy it is to just pull it into Unity and start working with it in 3D. So let's create some more objects, right? So let's go into Game Object, 3D Object, and let's pull out some spheres. So just click Sphere, and sometimes the sphere will show up like this. Don't be alarmed, that just means it's under the plane. Sometimes that happens. So just use the Move tool and just pull it up. And there we go. And just kind of like arrange it somewhere where you can kind of see it. And now what I want to do is I want to go on Google again, and this time I'm gonna look up a marble texture. So let's see what we got here. So pick a marble texture that you like. Again, I recommend to pick a square one because so the edges are tiled seamlessly. If you don't, it still will look fine. So I like this second one right here from Pinterest. So I'm just gonna click View Image, and I'm gonna download that same way I did before. And then here in Unity, I'm gonna just drag it in. Boom, we got our marble texture. Then I'm gonna take that marble texture and just grab it and drag it onto our sphere, and there we go. We got our marble sphere. Now, there's a few cool tips and tricks that you can actually use to add more details to your objects. So if you just right click on the marble asset right here, you should see Show in Explorer. If you're on Mac, it'll say Show in Finder. So if you just click that, so you right click on the marble texture and Show in Explorer or Show in Finder, it'll open up the folder on your computer where this Unity project is actually stored. So keep in mind, everything that you do in Unity as a Unity project is actually stored in a real folder on your computer. Usually it's in Documents, so it's Documents and then the name of your project. So what I want to do here is this marble texture, all I want to do is I want to copy and paste it right there to make a duplicate of it. So just duplicate that texture just like that. And now if I click back into Unity, Unity will detect that there was a change in my folder structure, and it will duplicate that marble texture. So for this second texture, now what I want to do is if you just click on one of them, and on the right here you'll see the texture settings. You see where it says texture type default? Well, I want to go for normal map here instead of default, and then check off right here where it says create from grayscale, and then where you see bumpiness will show up. just move the bumpiness really down, like 0.01, because marble isn't so bumpy. It's going to be just a slight relief texture that we want. So like a 0.01 should be fine. And then click apply down here. Now you'll notice that this little square here and this one turn purple, like that, kind of bluish purple. On my projector kind of looks blue, but it's actually purple. So if you just drag this part of the view here, you can actually, you know, move around this whole Unity editor. You can, you know, you can resize any parts of the elements. So now notice when I click the regular marble texture, you see the colors of it, and the new texture that we just created actually takes the surface details from the black and white marble texture and creates something that's called a special type of bump map. So that's what a normal map is. Now we're going to use this bump map to add some extra details to our marble sphere right here. So I'm going to click my marble sphere and I'm going to open its material just by clicking this little arrow, and you'll notice we already have an albedo texture right here, which is albedo is basically like the final white color, the final color of it. I'm going to take this normal map and I'm going to drag it into the slot right here where it says normal map. Oops, I didn't drag it right. And there we go. So now we added a little bit more kind of bumpiness here, and you'll really notice this, like if I disable it, enable it, you can see that we got like a little bump going on here. And if you bump up like the smoothness and the metallic, for example, you should start to see that the texture detail will kind of form around that. And you can make the bumpiness of this normal map as bumpy as you want, kind of. Now, of course, this isn't an actual bump. It doesn't actually make the sphere, you know, like the details of it change. It just kind of adds like a little graphical effect to it. And we'll get into more of the, you know, normal maps and materials and, you know, maybe some other sessions. But this is just like a really quick way that you can see that in Unity you can take what's a normal texture and you can use the data from that texture and, you know, pull out something like the bumps. So like from the black and white.
Sorry.
Yes.
When you duplicated it, what was the step where you made the map from it?
So just click it,
Yeah.
and then over here on the right side, there's you'll see texture type default in projects. You just want to do normal map instead of default, and create from grayscale. You'll have a little check mark right there. Again, if you get stuck at any point, you know, if it's a quick question, it's fine. But yeah, we are screen recording everything, so you'll be able to go back and check everything out. Your question?
So this might have happened to other people. I got curious and clicked the thing in the upper right-hand corner, and everything kind of like disappears. What do you do to get back?
You clicked this, or?
No, the little compass in the upper right-hand corner with the X, Y, upper right-hand corner.
Oh, this thing. Is that what you clicked, maybe?
Yeah, but then everything disappeared.
Yeah. Yeah, so if you get that problem, you might have clicked this perspective here. That can be sometimes confusing. If you just click that, it's just a switch from ISO to perspective. But yeah, we should have someone coming around to help you out. Again, if you get stuck or anything, just raise your hand and I'll have someone come around and help you out on your computer. So yeah, now, you know, we got our little marble texture, we got a little grass texture. Now let's just add like some very simple behaviors to our scene. Let's just make things move, right? So if I press play right now here, you'll see that, you know, you'll get something like that. You'll get something just very still, nothing's going on. So we currently don't have any behaviors, we don't have any animations yet in our scene. Now when you press play, what that actually does is that simulates the program. So that's basically builds it and runs it on the spot, and you can see kind of like what the app is going to look like basically when it's done. Right now we got nothing, and that's fine. So you'll notice that it also switches this tab here to the game view. Now what I like to do is I actually like to take that game view. You can actually pull a tab off from here, and you'll notice as you're pulling it around, it wants to stick places. So this is one of the great things about Unity is you can actually edit your whole work environment and kind of set up your workspace any way you want. You got multiple monitors. You can pull one window over here, one window over there. I would just recommend you grab this game tab that's usually found over here and pull it down here so we can kind of see our scene and our game at the same time. So now that we have our little game preview down here in the corner, if I grab the camera and move it around, you'll see that the game preview is now moving. So this camera is kind of like the final angle where our rendering for our app is going to happen. So in our instance, since we're going to be building something for VR, this is going to be kind of like our player. So from this place, our player is going to rotate around and is going to be able to do his action in VR that we want him to do. So now that we have this, if you press play now, it shouldn't switch the tab. It'll just, the game will be here still, and you'll still be able to look at stuff up here. Now, very important, to get out of play mode, it's not pause. You just have to click play again to really close it. Clicking pause is kind of like an illusion. It doesn't actually stop it. And you'll find out why it does that in a second. Now, what I want to do with this marble, right, since I want to just add a little simple behavior to it, I'm going to click up here where it says component. So everything in Unity is based on components, objects and components. Objects have components. So we want to add some physics to our sphere. So I'm just going to click component right here, go to physics, and you should see rigid body. It should be the first result. So make sure you're doing that while you have your sphere selected. So we want our sphere to have physics. So I'm just going to click the sphere, go to component, physics, rigid body. And on the right here, you'll notice that it added a little rigid body component. It has a mass, it has the drag, whatever. We don't need to change any of that. So now if I press play, the sphere will just fall down to the ground like that. Now, to really see this effect pronounced, and I love doing this, just have your sphere selected while you're in play mode. So make sure the play button is on. If you have your rigid body, if you just Control C and Control V, or do your copy and paste, you should be able to just paste them around, and you'll see that they all have physics. Very simple, not a single line of code written yet, just the absolute basics, just some physics. Now you can do a lot of really fun stuff with this. Like for example, let's say we want to maybe make like a ball pen or something like that. We don't want these balls to kind of fall off the plane. So I could do game object 3D object cube, and I pull it out of the ground, and I can kind of pretend like this is like a wall of some sort. So I'm gonna scale it. So I'm gonna use the scale tool again. All the move, rotate, scale is right here. I'm gonna kind of make it thinner like this, make it wider, make it taller, and we got somewhat of a basic wall. For fun, if you want, you can go on Google and look up like a brick texture, something like that. And now we don't, for this one we might not need to do a tiled one. We could just do like an off-size one. Should be fine. Drag that over to my desktop, drag it into my project, drag it onto my wall, and there we go, brick wall. So say I take, and I copy this, you can do the same thing. Every object that you have selected, you can, copy it and paste it. Or you can also do Control D, which is for duplicate, or Command D on Mac. You can rotate this. If you want to get accurate, 90-degree rotation, you can just round off the number over here to 90, and then you'll get like an actual 90-degree angle like that. So we're just having a little fun, just creating our little environment right here. I'll do something like that. Boom. And now if I press play, and if I do that same thing I did earlier, while I have play pressed, click the sphere and just start pasting it around and stuff, these are gonna start kind of like filling up in here. It's just kind of funny. You can take one from the middle and, you know, scale it up. Ooh. Yeah, so it's very gamish. When you do all this stuff, it's you know, again, we still haven't even done a single line of code, no terminal, nothing. Just, you know, pulling some textures off of Google and just slapping them onto 3D objects. And it really is this fun. You can just start pulling things together. Now, so far, we haven't even touched any of the online assets or anything like that. We've just literally been pulling stuff. So let me introduce you to another cool thing in Unity, which is called the Asset Store, right? So if I click the Asset Store, it's right here next to the Scene tab, and it's going to take you to this beautiful, highly detailed Asset Store where there's all sorts of characters, environments, even fully made games. They have them for free. They have some that are paid. They have many, you know, very great paid assets. I use a couple myself. Many free great assets. I use many myself as well. And today we're just going to use some very simple free assets. So over here in search, what I want is a sky. So I'm just going to look up a skybox. That's what they're called. And one of the first ones that shows up is this. Now if you want to just keep it to free, you can click the free only here, and it'll only show you ones that are free. If you want to go for something space, if you want to go for something clouds, that's totally up to you. You can download whichever one you want. I'm going to go for this fantasy skybox over here. And just click that. It's going to take you to a page right here. We're just going to say download. You click download. It's going to download it. Once it's done downloading, it'll do this decompressing thing. So we have it's called the Asset Store. So the Asset Store should show up right here, right next to Scene, and there's all the assets are there. Then you'll get this Import Unity Package dialog. Now, just a quick intro. So a Unity package is kind of like a zip file, right? But it's for Unity specifically. So in a Unity package, you could put anything. You could put sounds, you could put textures, you could put videos, you could put anything pretty much that makes an entire VR app. And a lot of the ways that Unity developers work together is they export things as Unity packages, and all you have to do is just kind of double click that Unity package and it just imports everything into Unity, converts everything, the right file types, everything just kind of gets preserved. But, yep.
Now, let's say you have something you've made personally.
Yep.
How
So I was just showing, like, you know, downloading a texture off of Google, putting it on your desktop, but you could do the same thing, you know, something from Photoshop. You can just pull up Photoshop.
A JPEG.
Yeah, JPEGs work, PNGs work for transparent things. So like if I make like a transparent texture, for example, in Photoshop, just grab like, you know, something like this. Oh, this was from a project. Yeah, so I'm just gonna delete, you know, let's go into like a shape, grab like, you know, this light bulb, for example. Oh, it's white. Let's make it black. Oh, sorry about that. Hey, did I forget how to do how to color them? That's fine. It's gonna be transparent anyway. So say you have something like that, you just save it as a PNG. So yeah, Unity will take pretty much all the major file types.
So you go to import new asset and then you can import it from anywhere on your computer.
Yep, you can do it that way, or you could do the drag and drop way. Both the same. You could drag and drop it right in here. And if I just drag and drop my light bulb, it might just show up white like that because it's showing the background. But if I, and you don't have to follow along to this, I'll just show you in a quick example. So if I pull this light bulb on here, and the only thing I have to change is the rendering mode here from opaque to transparent, and there it is. Fade actually works better for things that are transparent, and it's that easy to pull something in from Unity. See, it even does the shadows, right? So it's so easy to do.
And those shadows are coming off that directional light.
Yep, so if I grab the directional light and I rotate that around, you'll see that
Can I import 3D assets?
Yep, you can import FBX files, OBJ files, everything just works right there with all the UVs and everything.
What about a complex model?
Even complex models get broken down into pieces and stuff, usually, yeah. Yes?
Could you show how you did that, like applied what you got from the asset store to the project? Again, I missed that.
So we didn't actually do it yet. I think yeah, because we did a little slight tangent. So if you already downloaded it, maybe you'll say import like this. Just click, that, and then you'll see. Just let it decompress. You'll see this come up. So that's the Unity package dialog. It'll ask you all the things that you want to import. We're just gonna go for everything right now. You just click import. It'll do this little importing process. It'll take a sec. I think this project comes with a lot of little things. Depends on which skybox you went for. Oh yeah. So it really depends on the artist, depends on the package and stuff. Sometimes you'll go for a skybox and you'll get trees with it too. It just really depends on who packages them up. But then, I got a bunch of these new folders. So Fantasy Skybox Free, I believe, is our folder that we're looking for. And then in there, materials, and we have a few skies here. So the way that we change our skybox is we go from our asset store to the scene. And over here, where you see window, I want you to open window, lighting, settings. And you'll open the lighting settings. Right here, you should see the default skybox. Well, what I want is I want one of these. Let's say the daytime one. I'll just pull it in there, and voila. We just have a new sky for our environment. Now, skyboxes, there's ways you can make them. It's fairly easy, especially if you have like a 360 photo. It just works. There's a few extra steps in importing and stuff, but yeah, I mean it's not that difficult. But the gist of it is, it's very simple to pull assets from your computer. It's very simple to pull assets off the asset store. And for people that know how to do 3D and Photoshop and stuff, it's very simple to create assets as well. It only takes a few steps to import it into Unity, and you're ready to roll. It'll come in as a 3D model. Yeah. So it'll work. Yeah.
If you want to import a video as an asset.
Videos also work. There is they come up just as textures. You could place a video kind of on a plane or on something like that, and it works as well.
And is there like a restriction in size?
I mean, it just depends on the platforms that you're working on. Yep. So now what I want to do, right? So we kind of have some of this stuff, right? It's all cool and dandy, but let's add like a friendly neighborhood, character, someone, that's just gonna do some fun stuff in our little scene here. So same thing in the asset store. We're just gonna go for some free characters. Another great resource for characters, and I'm just putting this out there, but we're not gonna do this right now, is Mixamo.com. Especially if you have an Adobe Creative Cloud account, it works really well. You can import into Mixamo. It's a whole online platform. If you create a character, it'll rig it for you and everything automatically. It works really well. Even goes down to the fingers. And yeah, they have lots of different characters here and lots of different character animations to choose from. But yeah, we're not gonna do that right now. What we're gonna actually do is we're gonna get a character from somewhere else. So over here in the asset store, I just want you to type zombie. Search for zombie. And I like this one right here. So just find this zombie and click import or download. For me, it's not download because I already have him, and I just have to click import. And then it'll show you, the import dialog. Just import everything. So I'll wait, a little bit for people to get their zombie.
These characters and animations are made in third-party software?
Yep, so usually they're done in 3D modeling packages. There's also tools that you can kind of like what I was showing you earlier, like Mixamo and Fuse, you can just create the character almost like an RPG game, kind of like do the nose, the jaws, the ears. Yes? Do you have a question? Oh no, I thought you raised the hand. Maybe just scratching your ear. It's cool. But yeah, so once you have your zombie, now you should probably see a zombie folder here in your assets. So you should just say zombie. If you click in there and you go to model, you'll see the little thumbnail of the zombie, Z at walk. So let's just pull that into our scene, just like that. And there's our zombie in his full gory glory. Just like that. Now, you know, you could pull your zombie, put him anywhere you'd like. It's cool. Rotate him around and stuff. Now, if I press play, notice our little zombie is still. He's not moving. He's not doing anything. The reason is because we haven't added an animation yet to the zombie. Now, Unity gives you full control over everything that you do. It makes things simple, so it's not like, you know, rocket science to do any of this stuff. But at the same time, it doesn't stupefy things. Like it has a very robust tool set. To get to the simple features, it's easy, but to take it to an advanced level is, you know, just a small learning curve away from doing, you know, one walking zombie to a zombie that does 100 animations. But today we're just gonna do 2 animations, and if you could guess which ones that would be: walk and fall over, die, or whatever, right? Just simple for demonstration purposes. So the way that you do that is anywhere in your project. Usually I recommend you do it in the same directory where your zombie is, just to keep things organized. It doesn't need to be that way. If you just right click in here, right click, create, and then look for Animator Controller. Should be like towards the middle bottom. So just right click in the project, create Animator Controller, and call it something like zombie or whatever you want. It doesn't matter. And you should get a file like this that has these like kind of like little icons. So now what I want you to do is I want you to click on the zombie in your scene, either by clicking him here or clicking him here in the hierarchy. And you'll notice on the animator component of the zombie, controller is none. So we have no animator controller. And this animator controller that we just created, we want to take that and pull it on here like that. And now we have a zombie animator controller on him. Now, if you double click this animator controller like that, you will be brought up to a window like this. So you can use the middle mouse to pan around, or you actually don't need to pan around. You can just stay in here. So this is like the diagram of the animations, and I'll just be very brief with this. You don't need to know much about this yet. So I want to drag the same zombie that I had over here, because he actually has an animation in there. If I open him, but I don't have to open him, I could just drag it from here into my animator controller like that. And you'll notice the entry kind of made this automatically this arrow to the walk. So what that means is on entry, when this program starts, play the walk animation. It's as simple as that. If I just go back to scene and I press play, he's gonna walk in place and stop. Now the reason why he stopped is because we didn't set his animation to loop. So all we have to do is go back to our animator over here, or double click here, and when you see the walk animation, if you just click that, if you double click that, you'll open the actual animation settings. And I just want you to look for loop time right here. You just loop time, just loop it, and then click apply down here. Then if you just go back to scene and you press play, he's gonna do it. Now he's walking in place because the way that this works, and he's not falling to the ground because it doesn't have physics. He's walking in place because the animations are usually, the best animations are usually in place animations. The walking, the actual movement, is something that we're just gonna write a simple script that's gonna do. So one line of code and it just moves him forward. It's as simple as that. So now before we do that, I kind of want to arrange my scene a little bit better. Or you know what? You know what, this is fine. We don't have to spend too much time on that. But yeah, so what I'm going to do is I'm going to take my zombie and just kind of pull him a little bit closer to the floor so he doesn't look like he's floating. And pull him in, like, you know, make his rotation. I don't know. That should be fine, I think.
So you have to rotate by, there's no tool to rotate.
There is. There's a rotate tool right up here.
There is.
Yep. And it should give you the rotation gizmos. So let's say I'm going to pull my zombie all the way back here. I'm going to take my walls. You don't have to do it like this. This is completely up to your discretion how you want to arrange your scene. But I'm gonna pull it a little bit back, and I'm going to take this sphere, pull it away, and take my Mr. Zombie, pull him like here. Take our camera. Something like that. Alright, so now, since we have our little zombie friend and he's walking, we need to actually animate him walking. There's two ways to do this. You could do keyframe animations and you can set like exactly where you want him to go, but I just want to give you like a little quick introduction to how scripting works in Unity. So remember when we talked about components, how objects have components? You see when you click an object, zombie has an animator. Main camera has a camera. It has an audio listener. You know, directional light has a light component. You know, you can click this component, change the color of the light, for example, if you like. So every object has these things called components. Now the way that scripts work, scripts are a component. It's a component that you make, the way that you want it to work. So if we just create a script to move our zombie, the way that you do this is anywhere in your project, if you just right click, create C# script. It's on the top right there, and it'll let you name it. Just name it something like zombie. Now if you named it to new behavior script, that's fine. Don't rename it without renaming it in here, but I'll explain what that means in a second. Just double click the script and you'll open up the script editor. Now yours might be, you know, Visual Studio if you installed it on Windows and it lets you do Visual Studio. Visual Studio is fine. I use Mono. If you really want to switch, you can go to Edit and Preferences, and then in External Tools, or in where is it? Yeah, in External Tools, it should say External Script Editor. Mine's in Internal. Yours might be Visual Studio. It doesn't matter. It's totally fine. But yeah, just right-click and create your script, C# script, and then open it up. So you'll be greeted with a window like this. Now, a lot of people might look at this and be like, oh my god, what's using system collections? What's using... So all of this kind of comes like templated for you. It's basically kind of configured and ready to go. Most of this stuff you never have to touch. Any of these usings and stuff. What this all basically means, it's loading up all of the default Unity code libraries in, and it's preparing it for you to just write your code, so you don't have to link any libraries or do any kind of complicated stuff like that. The part that I actually want you to look at is over here where it says start and update. So what these mean is anything that happens between these curly brackets on start runs once on start. So have a few lines of code, that code runs once and it's done. Update runs every frame. So what a frame is, it's basically, you know how anything that animates on a monitor animates at 60 frames per second, and that's why you get like fluid motion. So update basically runs your code every frame. So it's something that you want to run constantly. And in this case, we want to animate our zombie constantly, just kind of moving. So we're going to write our little animate code in the update right here. So just follow along with me. It's very simple, right? So here's how you start typing, right? So here in update, between these curly brackets, you just start typing transform, and that's for our transform component, dot, and then you'll see it will kind of start auto-completing for you, even if you just start typing TRA, and it'll be right there, transform. dot, and then capital T, translate. So transform.translate is a basic function that basically translates the location of something. So if we just do transform translate, and as I'm still typing, you'll see it kind of auto-complete me right here. It'll have a little parentheses here, and it'll ask for a vector 3 translation. So I'm just going to open the parentheses, and in there, I'm going to type transform dot forward, like that. Close the parentheses and then put a semicolon. Now, semicolons are usually used to kind of end the statement. So you write what you kind of want to happen in that line of code, you semicolon it, and that's it. That's done. So we just have one line of code right here. You Control S, or file save your script. Make sure it looks like this. I'm gonna zoom this in case people can't read that. So this is all we wrote. And then if I go back to Unity right here, I'm gonna take, I'm gonna click my zombie over here in the hierarchy, Z walk or whatever, and I'm gonna take this script and pull it over here into the object's components, and there it is. So we just have our zombie script now on the zombie. Now if I press play, oh, he's gonna go really fast. I'll explain why. So you drag it, you can drag it either, like literally you can drag it onto the object in here, like in here. You can drag it in here when you have it selected, or you can actually drag it onto the zombie, but that I don't recommend that sometimes because sometimes you might drag it onto the wrong thing. Now he's gonna go really fast, right? Now the reason why he's going really fast is because we are moving him a unit of 1 every frame. So in 60 frames a second, that's 60 units in our Unity world. So that like basically just flies him off the map. So the one thing that we want to do here is we actually want to multiply this transform forward by something called time. So type capital T, time, delta time, written just like that. And I'll explain in a moment what this is, right? So this is actually an interesting little piece of trivia. Doesn't actually have anything to do with Unity. Well, it does, but it's actually just, it's cool to know, I think. So think of it like this, right? So as these lines of code go, like my computer, for example, and someone else's computer are going to have different performance levels. So everyone in the world today is running a different phone, a different computer, laptop, desktop, older, newer. They all calculate at different speeds. So my computer will probably calculate a piece of code 100 times faster than like a computer from like 5 years ago, for example. Now, as a, yes?
Yeah, that script, is that a C+ script, right?
C# script.
C# script.
Yes.
Okay.
Yes. So, where was I? Yeah. So basically, yeah, the time delta stuff. So yeah, back in the day, when people developed for something like Nintendo, for example, every Nintendo in the world, whether it was in Japan or in America, or whatever, it was the same hardware. It was the same chip. It was the same graphics card. They all calculated at the same rate. Today, one of the challenges we have as cross-platform developers is to make code that works across all platforms. Doesn't matter if it's faster or slower. So what time delta does is it calculates the amount of milliseconds it takes your CPU to calculate something. So when you multiply something by a time delta, you're basically normalizing it across all the different devices. And like I said, like think of like people that did, assembly code way back in the day for Zelda or for Mario. It was the same, they could write, they knew exactly what hardware it was going to run on. The same thing they were testing with in the lab is the same thing kids were playing across the world. So they didn't, have to have things like this. But since we're all cross-platform developers, we have to keep in mind that people are going to be running your code on all sorts of different phones and computers. So just a little trivia on the time delta and why it's so important. So what you're going to get as a result of that is that it's actually going to slow down the zombie to what he actually should be moving at, which is a speed of 1. Just very slowly, like that. So there he goes. Now, there's some other really cool things that you can do with scripting in Unity. So say I want to have a speed for this zombie that I can change at any time that I want. So up here, you know, before the start, kind of like after this first curly bracket, you're just gonna type this: public float speed, or my speed, or whatever you like. So that's kind of like, it's a variable, so you can name it anything you like. Public means it's accessible to the rest of the program. So if, you know, some other script wants to change the zombie speed, they can. If I want to change the zombie speed from the editor, I can. So that's just what public means. Float is basically kind of the equivalent of a decimal. So the value of speed doesn't necessarily have to be 1 or 2. It could be 1.5556, for example. So that's why you write float. And then my speed is just the name of the variable equals to 2, f, something like that. And f just stands for float, which basically kind of makes it the same as, you know, 0.00 or whatever. But this is all the same number, basically. So just write it as something like that. Public float my speed is equal to 2, f. Now, right after this time delta here, what you could do is just do another multiply symbol, so another, you know, asterisk like that, and now just write my speed in there. So that will now know that this my speed here is equal to 2. It's because you wrote it up here. So whenever you write my speed in your program, that's basically referring to this number that you placed in here. Now, what you're going to notice is when you go back into Unity and you click your zombie, you'll see that the zombie script now has the my speed right there as a component. So that's the added benefit of making something a public, is that you actually can now access the speed of the zombie from in the Unity editor. So now since he's a speed of 2, you know, he's going. If I make that 0, he'll stop. If I make it -1, he'll go backwards. Right? So this is like a quick way for you to be able to, you know, debug and to, you know, not necessarily have to go back to the script every time you want to change the speed of the zombie or something like that. You can change it from right in here in the component. But this is basically how you start to create these behaviors. And he'll actually go through the wall because there's no collider, and he won't fall because there's no physics yet. We're just literally mimicking the behavior of a zombie. We're just literally one line of code just pushing him forward. That's all we're doing. A lot of these scripting things, and like say, you know, you just don't remember any of this stuff. Like, how do I move a guy in Unity? I don't get this stuff, you know. Like if you just Google, you know, how do I move an object in Unity? You'll see right there, what's the first result? Transform translate, the script that I just showed you. So a lot of this stuff is like all over the internet. The community has really like made it very simple. You can Google things in plain English, like, you know, how do I write a script that moves an object? Click it right there, and voila, look at that. There's a little code snippet that you can just copy and paste right into your script, and you can edit it and tweak it, and it just works like that. So just a quick note, if you want to be able to look this type of stuff up, you can. Most of it is usually found in the scripting reference here, and it basically, as you can see, Unity is chock full of features and stuff. Most of them, you know, as a beginner, you don't even need to care about. But if you're willing to, you know, go the extra mile and really get into this stuff, you'll find that Unity is a very, very powerful tool, and it has something for almost everyone, pretty much. Many companies now and brands use Unity for their interactive experiences, whether they're VR, AR, or neither, whether they're just, you know, web, whether they're app. But yeah, so you probably already know that. Yeah.
Question, is JavaScript, the flavor, is that the same as the web JavaScript?
It's very similar. It's actually, I don't know why they call it JavaScript. It's kind of Unity script, but it's just like JavaScript. It writes just like JavaScript, pretty much. See like function, update. You can use JavaScript if you know JavaScript. It's fairly easy to get started in Unity. I just recommend using C# because once you start getting into some of the more advanced stuff, you'll see that most of the advanced people use C# for everything. Yeah. I actually personally started doing JavaScript, so don't fret if you did. It's very simple. And then I taught myself C# after that, which it wasn't that much of a change.
Is the Java in the documentation as well?
Yep. Usually where you have something, you can just switch to C# version, JavaScript version, and it'll just show it to you. Yeah. So let's see here. So we did Unity editor, materials, asset store, character animation, components, rigid body physics, scripting movement. All right, scripting triggers and collisions. So this is the cool stuff, right? So let's get to it. We went through about an hour right now. Let's take a little 4 or 5 minute break, and yeah, we'll continue with the rest of it. Oh yeah, sure.
Do you happen to know what version of .NET you use?
I don't know, 3.5 or something. It just installs it usually by default.
It used to be 2.0, right? I think
Yeah, stick around. In the next part, we're going to be exporting to our phone, and we're actually going to try it all in VR.
Can I ask a question?
Yes, absolutely.
I have two questions. One is the character. I think I missed how to apply the animation to the character.
So did you create an animation controller? So here's what you do, right? Yeah. So if you click your character, does he have the controller on here? Did you put it on?
Yeah, I did, but it's not working.
So double click that controller to enter in here. Do you see, does it have an animation like this in there?
Yeah.
Okay, so this is what you do, right? So go to your zombie folder, and in model, you should see Z at walk right there. You just pull it in there like that, and it'll do it. And now if you press play, it should animate. It won't loop yet, and the way that you loop it is you just double click that to enter like the animation properties, and then you could check the little loop time right there.
I have a second question.
Yes.
How do I invert the normal one?
Oh, so we didn't import one, we created one. I just duplicated this texture by, if you right click and show in Finder, you can just copy and paste the file, like literally just make a copy of it.
Yeah, I got that one. How do I invert the black and white version?
Yeah, so just click the one here that you have, and in texture type, just click right there where it says, instead of default, click normal map.
Oh, okay, you're not getting my question. So,
Oh, what's up?
I create the normal map for the brick.
Oh, you want to put it on the...
Yeah, instead of all the route going in, mine came out, so I want to invert the normal map.
Oh, I see. Well, one way to do that is if you select on your material here. Do you see this little 1 that's right next to the normal map? You can make that -1, and it'll do it in reverse. See that? Yeah. Yes, you could just negative it like that. No problem. Yeah, that will happen sometimes with brick textures.
Yeah.
All the wrong things will be popped out.
Now, displacement maps not supported.
No, they work.
Yeah.
Yeah. It's just your texture, I believe, has to be transparent. So I'm going to do transparency from grayscale. And if I just place it in height map.
Okay.
There it is. Doesn't look that great on a sphere.
Uh-huh.
It works better on a flat surface.
Okay.
If you're thinking like actual like mesh displacement,
Yeah.
then you're probably gonna have to do tessellation, which
Okay.
Unity also supports. It has a little tessellation shaders that you can use.
Don't know about that.
Bum, 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 bum. Oops.
Can't add the script to zombie.
So is it giving you an error?
Yeah.
So just. Yeah, so usually if you ever get an error in your script, like for example, say you just wrote something wrong in here, you know, usually it'll tell you down here, it'll have a little red, and it'll tell you the error, it'll take you to the console. If you just double click that, it'll actually take you to the part in your script where it sees the error. So for me, it's that letter D right there. So for you, it's yeah. So my speed after the 2F, put a semicolon.
Oh, okay.
And that's it. Now you save and it should work, and you'll be able to apply it.
Can you import like SolidWorks models or other
Yeah.
CAD?
Yeah, OBJs, FBX files, all work. Yep. Yes.
I have animation.
Oh, well, I think you should create an animation controller for the model, the same way you did for the zombie. And then you should just be able to pull the animation into the animation controller. Yes, I can do that part again. So just, so I'll do like a little quickie extra, for example. So say you're a 3D guy, right? Or a 3D gal. And you have your favorite 3D modeling package. Mine is Blender. I'm an open source guy. But say like you got, you make your own 3D models. And say, we want to make like something like a chair. So I'm just going to cut this up. Now again, if you can't follow along with this, that's totally cool. I don't expect you to. This would be a completely separate class in itself. So
Take me so much longer.
yeah, so a chair, right? Something like that. And let's say I want to make an animation for this chair. What would be a cool animation? Oh, how about this? How about like do something cute? Oh God. Wait, there's a better way to do this. Yeah, so let's say, yeah, I'm just using a small example. I'm gonna make like this chair like seat flap or something. I guess it's a question. Call it that. Yeah, and then I'm gonna put my origin point, oops, like here. Yeah, so I want to do something like that, right? Just like something ridiculous. I'm gonna UV map it real quick. Smart UV. Again, if you're not like sure what I'm doing right now, that's totally cool. You don't have to. Yeah, I'll just record a little animation. And then I'll do like, oops, wrong direction. And back down. Yeah, so we'll have like an animation that does that. Something like that. And
Do you need a key to set the keyframe? Just advance it. Did you have to hit a key to set it like a little?
yeah, I put it.
After Effects,
Yeah, there's a little record keyframes button here that I pressed.
Oh.
It's just down here. There's a little record button.
Okay.
But yeah, say I like this chair. I can export this as an FBX file. Chair. And then all I have to do is just drag it into Unity. Here's the chair. Drag it in. Boom. And there's my chair that I just made. It's very big.
Giant.
So same thing. So I just create an animation controller for the chair. So I right click, create, Animator Controller, just right in here. Call it something like chair. And again, like if you want to check in on any of this later, we'll have it up on our site.
Posting, do you think you'll post this week?
Oh, I'll post it.
When you get home.
Yeah, I'll post it tonight.
Fantastic.
Yeah.
And so you're doing it on the gear, right?
What?
Are you filming on the gear?
Oh yeah, I am a little bit.
Okay.
Did it stop filming?
Fantastic.
That's a good question because sometimes it does that. Yes, it did.
Stopped.
It does that sometimes. You have to use the phone. But since I'm using the phone today for
Okay, as your controller.
yeah, I don't know why it does that. I guess it overheats or something. But no, I'm actually recording the screen too. So I'm doing like, yeah, I'm everything's 1080p screen recorded. Yeah, if you check on what we have up on our channel now, we have some good new videos if you just want the more free education.
And the name of the channel is?
Unity Education.
Okay.
You can also always find more details on our website, anyworld.com.
What is it?
Anyworld.com. So this is our company. Yeah. And if you just
Very nice.
thank you. If you just go down to the education programs and get started, there's more details on there. So yeah, say I have my chair, an animation controller, and I just pull my chair with its new animation in there, and there's the animation that it wants. I loop it, apply, go back here, and press play, and there it is.
Did I miss a zombie in his Mixamo animation?
You might-
Skidding across the ground?
You might have, yeah. But yeah, just very simple like chair thing. So yeah, I think we can continue with the next part. So I'm just gonna get rid of this chair. It was a cool little example. So now let's get to some of the more interesting interactions, right? So what I want to do first, before we do any interactions, is I actually want to set up this project to work with Google VR. Now, how do you do that? So if you just Google VR Unity, something like that, should show up. First one should show up, Google VR SDK for Unity. You just click that, and then you go through all this nonsense. This should be down here. It should say download the Google VR SDK for Unity, and you click that, and then it will be a blue button like that that says download SDK. So you download that. It'll download a Unity package. You just save it. I already have like 3 of them, I think. But like, you just click that thing you downloaded, or double click it, whatever, to open it. It'll decompress. Now, one thing I want you to note here, you don't need to import the demos. So I just uncheck that. But if you import the demos, that's fine. I'm just not going to import it because it's faster, like, to export if I don't have all their demo stuff. We're not going to need it. So I'm just going to import the Google VR package. There we go. Now you're going to go to File, Build Settings, and we're actually going to switch for Android in a sec. But before we do that, so yeah, just File, Build Settings, and you can see this is where really Unity has all of those platforms that everyone loves to be able to export to. So this is kind of where you choose what platform you're going to build for. I'm going to build for Android. Some of you might be building for iOS. But for now, you don't have to click any of that. Just click Player Settings over here. And then if you just scroll here, you should see Virtual Reality Supported. You just check that box on. And it has like, oh, it actually won't. I have to switch to Android first. Sorry about that. Let's go back to this right here. And this might take a few minutes. So just click on Android, or in your case iOS if you're iOS, and just switch platform right here. Now what it's gonna do, it's gonna take a few minutes to just re-import everything for Android. And the reason it does that is because every platform kind of has its own specific platform specific settings. But with Unity, you never have to worry about any of that stuff. You just build your project in Unity, and then you switch platforms, and it will just configure pretty much 99% of everything to work with it. But yeah, there's always that 1% that you have to do extra. Now, for those that are wanting to export, there's two things that you need to export to Android, and this is just Android related stuff. You're gonna need Java, so that's called Java JDK, and you just Google Java JDK, it'll show up here. If you hadn't already installed this from before the class, it might take a while for you to install and download all this stuff. So I would recommend, you know, you maybe just watch this part. But yeah, I have the links up in the comment section of the meetup too if you need to download this stuff. So you're gonna need Java, and you're gonna need Android Studio. So those are just for any Android developer. You need to have those tools ready. And Android Studio just looks like that. So Java and Android Studio, that's all you need. So I was gonna get that. So for iOS, all you need is just Xcode. If you have Xcode installed on your Mac, you just need to set up like your little Apple team, like your Apple developer account, and that's all you need. And then when you export from Unity, it'll open up Xcode, plug your phone in, and it'll build to it. But yeah, I'm gonna be testing on Android right now for just demonstration.
Is there some, see, because I've had a problem with that team thing, right? Exported and then it didn't last.
It depends on the project and on the version of Unity and stuff. But all the latest versions of stuff should work. Yeah, it should. I mean, if your computer can run Xcode, it should be able to work as long as everything's updated. But yeah, I would have to see the specific issue that you're having. So everything switched to Android, which is good. And now I can actually go here into player settings.
Now, do you think there's an advantage to using the Android?
It's really your preference if you're an Android or iOS person. One of the main advantages to using Android is that you could just export APK files and you could just give it to all your clients. iOS, you have to provision every phone. iOS is a little bit more restrictive. That's my main preference in Android, is that I could just deploy and you can publish to the Play Store in 2 days, whereas the Apple Store takes 2 months, and then that's an if too. So if you want to do something quickly, and yeah, definitely Android. If you want, you know, that $1 app on the App Store, you want a $1 app millionaire, then yeah, iOS.
If you've already downloaded Java and Android, and you updated your latest version, do you have to read?
Usually, yeah, you might have to put the settings back in. But yeah, so we're going back to our player settings right here, just to get back on track. And the only things that I want to change right here is we see virtual reality supported. I want to check that on. And here say virtual reality SDKs list is empty. I'm just gonna click the little plus right here, and see it has Cardboard, Daydream, Oculus, whatever. I want Cardboard right now because we're gonna be doing something for the Cardboard. The other thing that you need to do is you need to give it a package name, which is the identification right here. So it's gonna say something like com.company.product name. So I'm just gonna do com.anyworld. VR beginner, something like that. And you need to set that, otherwise it'll tell you, sorry about that, otherwise it'll tell you an error or something like, you know, you didn't set your package name, bundle identifier, something like that. Then the other thing, the minimum API level should be KitKat. I just learned this recently with the new version of Google VR. The minimum supported version is Android 4.4 KitKat, which is like phones from 4 years ago, so you should all be fine. Yeah, so we got that set, and then I believe all you have to do, and before we lose anything, let's save our scene, right? So just do File, Save Scene As, and just save it as test, something like that. Don't go to any new folder, just save it right there in the assets. And you should see like a little Unity icon will show up right there with the new scene file that we just created. So yeah, just so we don't lose anything we just did. Now, to add the VR stuff in here, what's up?
It's just right.
I can never tell. So if you just go to the Google VR folder and you click prefabs, you'll see this blue box, GVR editor, emulator or whatever. Just pull that right here, whether in the 3D or in the scene, it doesn't matter. Just here in the hierarchy is fine. And then if you click that object, it'll say camera none. So I want you to just take the main camera and pull it in there, so we can emulate in our editor the Google VR stuff. Now the other important thing is we have to make a container object for our camera. The reason why you have to do that is because Google VR just resets everything to 0 always. So you need to parent this camera to something like a player object. So let's just do that really quick. So all you have to do is you click game object up here, create empty, like that. And now that empty game object, you can rename it either by just tapping on it lightly like that, and it'll give you the rename, or you can just rename it up here in the inspector. So let's rename that to player. Okay. Then we're gonna take our camera, our main camera, and we're gonna drag it into the player, and we're gonna parent it to it. So now the main camera has become a child object of the player object. So you just take the main camera and just drag it into the player object we just created. Now, while having your main camera selected, we're gonna look at the position over here. Just make that 0, 0, 0, and then we'll have the main camera right on top of our player object. Now you can no longer have to grab by the main camera, you can grab just by the player and move your player somewhere into position. So let me just make sure this works. Now if I press play, yeah, and if you hold your mouse right here in the game view, if you hold Alt, you'll be able to look around. So that's simulating basically your head, what you would be doing once it's on your phone. I'm gonna make my zombie not so fast. I'll make his speed like 0.5 or something. And our player is good now where he is. So now what I want to do is I want to this could still be cool. I can still export this and it'll work. I'm gonna save this for the next thing, but it's not really a VR experience or like a VR app or something fun unless there's some sort of interaction. So something needs to happen. So what are we gonna do? Let's shoot these zombies or something like that, right? I mean, that's what's expected. We got these walking zombies. So let's figure out something to throw at these zombies, right? Now remember our good old sphere that we created earlier, our nice, beautiful marble sphere? So we're gonna chuck these marble spheres at the zombie. So the way that we're gonna do that is, first of all, we need to make this sphere have some motion just when it starts. So I'm gonna create another script over here in the project, and I'm just gonna do right click, create C# script, and I'm gonna call this something like ball. Then I'm gonna double click that script, and in there it's a very, very simple one line of code. So all we're gonna do is we're gonna do get component. It looks like this. It expects, you see that it expects these arrow brackets, and it has the T in there. That's kind of means the type of component that you want. I'll explain what this means in a second. So just type get component like this, open one of those arrow brackets, then type rigid body like this with the capital R, close one of those arrow brackets, then open a parentheses, close a parentheses, and we got our rigid body. Now we're gonna click, make a dot. Now we got the rigid body. Now we want to modify its velocity. So just type velocity, and then type equals to something like transform forward times 10f, something like that. And what that will make it do is this ball will have a velocity of 10 going forward on start. One line of code, just like this. So I'll just keep that up there for a few more seconds.
Frames?
So it's not gonna do it in frames because it's doing it only once on start. So it's not doing it every frame. If we did do it every frame, that would be pretty fast.
Okay, so 10 refers to what then?
Just like a unit of, think of like in Unity, a unit of 1 is like 1 meter, kind of like. So that's like kind of like 10 meters per second or something like that in that one instance. Yes?
How come you don't use vector 3.4? Transfer.4?
The reason is because I actually want the current ball's orientation. So if we as the player are looking that way, vector 3.forward might be actually the world's forward, whereas we want our local forward. And that's why we're using transform.forward as opposed to vector 3.up or yeah. So that should work. Now, if we just go back to our game, and if I just take that ball script I just created and I pull it onto our sphere here, you can pull the script on just by pulling it on the list object here, or you could pull it in the 3D. Again, I don't recommend that because sometimes you might miss the object. And if I just press play, I just want to see if it'll actually move like that. And there it goes. So it just automatically budged forward. Now what we want to do is, since we have this sphere, we like it. We like the marble on it. We like that it has physics. It's the perfect marble sphere. We want to save it. And the way you do that is you save it as what's called a prefab. Prefab is short for prefabricated object. So the way that you do that is you take the sphere and you drag it here in the project, and boom, now you got your sphere saved as an asset right there. And now you can take that sphere and drag it around your scene and make more of them if you'd like. We're not going to do that right now. But what we're going to do is, now that we saved this sphere, and you might notice that it changed color. We're here to blue. Whenever something is blue, it means it's prefabbed. So it actually has a link to something here in the project. So what we're going to do is we're going to actually take, since we saved this in our project, now what we want to do is we want to shoot that sphere out of the camera with a little script. Now let's create another really simple script. So all we're going to do is we're going to do right click, create C# script. Let's call this one something like shoot. Okay. So just double click that, and here we are. Now the first thing that I just want to do is I want to define what we're shooting. So I'm going to create a public transform bullet, something like that. So again, public is so that we could access this value from outside or from the editor. Transform is the type, which is just like it's a type of transform. It's a 3D object, and that's bullet doesn't have to be bullet. It could be sphere. I'm just calling it bullet because we're kind of going to use a sphere as a bullet, and you could technically even use a zombie as a bullet if you want. You'll see it's very easy to just pull things in and do a lot of fun stuff with it. So the other thing now that I want to do is, now we go here and update. Now I'm going to introduce you to our first type of input. So just make a few lines just by pressing enter like that. Give yourself some space here. And just here in update, I want you to type this, right? if, so it's an if statement. So if, open parentheses, capital I, so input dot get mouse button down. It's pretty self-explanatory, right? If input get mouse button down, open parentheses, it wants the button. So which button? Just for reference, left mouse button is 0, right mouse button is 1, and then the other ones are like 2 and 3 are like the special mouse buttons. We just want 0 right now because that's our left click. So if input get mouse button down, open parentheses 0, close parentheses for the input, and then close another parentheses for the if, then you could do a curly bracket like this, open a curly bracket, then do enter a few more times to make some space, and then close a curly bracket. So now everything that happens between these curly brackets will only happen if we just clicked our mouse button down, and that's the left mouse button specifically. So now what we want to do is we want to create our bullet when we click the mouse button down. So we're going to do instantiate is what the word is called. I'm typing that all wrong, but thank God for the autocorrect. So just you can write insta, and instantiate is right there. Say that again?
If you don't get the intelligence for inputting instantiate, what are you using?
If I'm not using instantiate?
No, so I didn't get the intelligence for the autocomplete.
Oh, did you try closing the script editor, opening it again? Sometimes it does that. If you don't get the autocomplete, are you using Visual Studio? See, that's why yeah, if you're all not getting the autocomplete, or if you want like this beautiful simple script editor that I have, it comes built in with Unity. You can just go here to where it says File, Edit. Just go to Edit, and then Preferences, and External Tools, and right there it'll say External Script Editor. Just switch to the internal one, or the built-in mono, and that one should work. And then reopen your script, and it should work. But yeah, so instantiate, open parentheses, and then it's asking for the object we want to instantiate, and that's bullet, which we defined up here. So we want bullet. Then it's going to ask for, the parent that's lying. That's not what it wants. It wants the position, where you want the bullet. We want the bullet right from where we are, and that's transform.position. And then it wants the rotation of the bullet. I don't want any special rotation. I'm just going to do bullet.rotation. So just the default bullets rotation. Close parentheses, semicolon. Just like that. So I'm going to leave that up there for just a few seconds so you can copy it down. Okay, so now if I go back to my Unity, I'm going to open up my player, where my player camera is, right there, main camera. And I'm going to take that shoot script that we just created, and I'm going to put it on the camera. So I'm just going to put it right there on the camera. Boom. And it should show up right there. If you click on the camera, and see it says bullet none. So it wants a little bullet prefab for us to give us. We're going to give it the sphere that we created, or I could give it the chair too. That would work. So I could take the sphere and just pull it in there. Boom, like that. That's it, right? So let's test this. So if I press play, I'm going to just click right here where it says maximize on play, just so it could be maximized. And it's doing it, but it's not doing it in the direction that we want. Now, the reason that is because our ball's velocity is using the transform forward. Sorry about that, this is my mistake. So if you just go back to the ball script, okay, where it says transform forward, let's change that, and we're actually going to change that to camera, like that, dot main dot transform forward. So we're taking the camera's transform forward, not the ball's transform forward. This was my mistake, sorry about that. And then that should work. So I'm just gonna leave that up there for a few more secs. Just in your ball script, just change the transform forward to camera main dot transform forward. Okay. Once you have that, now if we go back to our game and I hold Alt in here to look around, and I just click, there it is. So we're shooting these balls. Now you'll notice that our zombie friend over here is not going down. The reason he's not going down is because we haven't yet added the down animation or the down behavior. Now this is what we come back to what I was saying originally. So Unity makes things simple, but it also keeps things very specific. So it's you have full control over what happens. Now if you're trying to make the zombie fall, you know, there's no way Unity can know that that's what you want it to do. So he doesn't even have a collider, it'll just walk through the wall. So we have to define those types of behaviors. It's really up to you as the VR developer how you want your worlds to behave. And all the behaviors, as you can see, are dictated by these components. Whether the components are built into Unity, whether you downloaded a component off the asset store, or whether you wrote a little script yourself that acts as behavior. They're all called behaviors because basically it makes these objects behave. So we're getting really close to having our finalized app, right? So the last thing that we need now, since we have our, you know, our camera shooting these, you know, marble balls at the zombie, we need the zombie to actually be affected somehow. So the first thing that we want to do with the zombie is we want to go up to component physics, and we want to add like a capsule collider or something like that. A capsule collider should be fine. You just see it'll kind of start at his feet, so you can tweak some of the settings to make the capsule collider come, you know, up on the object. So just change the center to something like 1, like this, and the height to something like 2. It should kind of be, you know, close enough. And then what we're gonna do is, if you click on your zombie again, click the animator right here, the animator controller. We need to go back to our animations, right? So it's currently we just have a walk animation. Now if you go in your project here to the zombie folder and model, you'll see there's a bunch of other animations like attack, fall. So we want the back fall animation. So it's this one right here. If I just pull that in right there, I'll have the back fall. Now we need this fall to happen on a parameter. So something needs to be true, which in this case will be something like, I don't know, fall equals true or dead equals true. So we need to set that in our animation controller. So that's what's really great about this tool, is you can kind of make all these different conditions and statements of when a certain animation plays. But we're just going to do one simple one right now. So over here where you see layers right here in the top left, just click parameters. You'll say list is empty. There's a little plus icon right there. I want you to make a type of bool. Bool is short for Boolean, which is basically true or false. In programming, Boolean means just true or false. And all we need is just a simple true or false check. So this new bool, I'm just going to rename it to something like, you know, dead. Okay? So if dead is true, then fall. That's kind of the logic that we're going for here. The last thing that we want to do in this animator controller, and then we're done here, and then we can go back to our zombie, is this walk animation. We need to make an arrow from the walk to the back fall. We need to connect those. So right click on the walk and click on make transition, and then pull that arrow down to the animation that you want the back fall, and click it, and there it is. So we just connected the walk to the fall. Now if you click this arrow, we're not done yet. We actually need to make sure that that transition, that arrow, only happens if dead is checked on, so it's true. So the way that we do that, then first you just got to tweak a few things here. So what this basically does is it melds two animations together. So it's doing, so I'll do the preview, it's doing the walk, and then it'll do the fall. See that? So this here, what it's actually doing, it's deciding how fast that transition happens, and basically the blend between animations. You see, if I do the blend really long like that, then it'll fall very slowly like that. So we don't want that. We actually want a very short, crisp animation right towards the beginning somewhere. And this has exit time. You want to check that off. What that basically means is, like, will it wait to finish the first animation before it plays the next one? No, we want it to play right away when the ball hits them. So just do that exit time, uncheck that, and you should be good to go. Besides, one more thing, here in conditions, list is empty. Press plus right there, and it'll automatically put the only condition that you have, which is dead. So if dead is equal to true, then do this. So that's the logic, right? So now that we have our zombie animator pretty much ready to roll and do that stuff, to fall over, we just need to detect when something goes in this capsule. So in this case, our sphere. So when our sphere enters this green area, we'll check that dead to true, and he'll do the rest. He'll just fall over, which is the effect that we're going for.
Can you adjust the capsule?
Yeah, so you can make it a little bit forward. Oops. You know, like that.
Or the size?
I mean, like, yeah, the radius. If you really want to be like specific about it, but you won't really notice. It'll be. But yeah, you can tweak everything. So if you wanted, to tweak it, you got it tweaked. Now you double click your zombie script to go back to the zombie script, and we just need to add one more simple behavior, and that's basically a collision detection. So on collision, set the animator to dead. So this is how we do it, right? It's not on start and it's not on update. It's its own event. So it's its own void. Void is actually the same as function in JavaScript or in other programming languages. You might be used to seeing function. So what you're going to type here is you're going to type void. So outside of all these voids, this one's open, closed, this one's open and closed, and then we do another void, and we do on collision enter, just like that, with the same capital. Usually every function kind of has the first word in it capitalized. So if it's on collision enter, O, C, and E will be all kind of capital. So on collision enter, then you open a parentheses, then we're passing a type of collision, and then here you can name it whatever you want, like other object. We're actually not even using this right now, so we won't need it, but you still need to put it in there. Then open a curly bracket, make a few extra lines with enter, close a curly bracket, and this will run once something enters our collision. So once we're in here, now all we want to do is, since this zombie script is attached to the zombie, we want this zombie component to pull the animator component. So this component is going to talk to another component. So the zombie script is going to talk to the animator. So this is how you do this. So you do get component. You do the same like arrow brackets, and you just type in there animator. Close that arrow bracket, open parentheses, close parentheses, and then you do dot. And now we're in the animator, so we can do all the stuff with it. The function is called set bool because our dead is a boolean. So bool is short for boolean, true or false. True or false. So we're setting bool, open parentheses, and then in quotes the name of the value that we're setting, dead. Close the quotes, comma, true. Close parentheses, semicolon. That's it. Again, don't be like spooked if you don't know, well, let's get component or what are these like curly brackets and stuff. You'll see like this is a great way to kind of get started with things. Like, you'll notice that everything that we do is 1 line or 2 line. I'm not trying to go at it too crazy and write like a whole page of code right now. Most of the time in Unity, you actually don't need to do that. Is the way that Unity is designed with these components. So you can write these tiny little scripts that just talk to each other. As long as you kind of know what the right words are to use, and if you don't, most of the time you can just look it up in plain English on Google, and people will give you a code snippet that's ready to use and just paste in there. I learned like that 5 years ago. I was copying and pasting stuff off the internet. It broke a lot of the times or not. You know, you keep tweaking it and stuff until it works, you know. But yeah, now there's so much more educational resources and courses and boot camps and classes that you know, you can really delve into all this scripting stuff. But you'll notice that what differentiates, you know, just an average Unity user from someone that's, you know, has a job in the industry and is working with this stuff for a living is usually they've gotten pretty good at scripting and how it works. It's not a must. There's actually many ways that you can go without it as well. But personally, I think that it expands your mind in a certain way. As long as you can kind of understand some of these basic concepts, and you kind of get a hang of just the basics, you'll see actually how much freedom it gives you. I've personally taught multiple people that had nothing to do with scripting, never done any of it, and now they're like, you know, coding and they love it. They're like, oh my god, there's so much freedom. I can't believe it. Like, you can do all this stuff. But yeah, so, you know, enough of that. And this should actually just work right now. So if I just save this and I go back to over here, and now I'm gonna take this zombie and I'm gonna just, you know, put him maybe like closer to my camera, and I'm gonna make a bunch of zombies, right? Just coming at me like that. So I'm gonna press play, and I'm gonna look at them, and I'm gonna click, and there you go. Right? One last thing that I think I promised we were gonna do, right? So I'll show the zombies getting killed again, and then we'll do it on this. You'll see how it looks like when it's exported. Is I want to add like a little sound effect to a zombie, right? So like, oh, or like, ugh, you know. So one great resource for getting sound effects is my favorite website. It's called freesound.org. So on freesound.org, you need to have an account. So, you know, register for one if you ever want to download something. But you don't need to right now if you don't want to. I'm just gonna look for something like, you know, like hit. I don't know. No, these are like sound effects. Something like cartoon punch. No? It's too long. So I think like something like what would be a good one to look for? Like ouch. Yeah, I like this one because it's quick. Yeah, just something like that. Wants me to log in. Alright, so you download a sound effect, pull it somewhere where you can work with it, and back into Unity, drag it in there. I'm going to delete all these zombies because I just want to work with one right now. Then all you have to do is you have to go add a component for playing the audio. So you go to Component, Audio, Audio Source, because the audio is going to be coming from him. You'll notice you'll get a little speaker icon right there. And it's expecting an audio clip, which is none right now. So I'm just going to do this. I'm going to pull it in here. Audio clip, boom. Play on awake, no, because we don't want it to play instantly. What we actually want to do is back in our script here. So again, we're just accessing components. On collision enter, we're going to do another component, get component audio source. Same as our last one. You don't have to follow this along, but if you want to, it's cool. Audio source dot play. That's it. So we got our So notice it's the same as what it's called here. It's called audio source in here. It's called audio source in the script as well. Yes?
What if you have multiple sounds?
Multiple sounds can come from multiple sources.
Yeah, but it gets components. How do you define which sound you like?
So there's ways you can pull it into the editor, like kind of like how we were doing earlier. You could make specific sounds that you want to play. But in this instance, we're just trying to keep it simple. So yeah, so now I'm going to take my zombie, copy him around, and then I will do our final export to Android. And then you can see this in VR. So let's just do our final test. Press play. There you go. Right? And it's gonna still play the sound every time it hits them, even when they're dead. No, they're still sliding, right? So
That's a transform.
yeah, so if you want to do that, on collision enter, remember that speed variable that we had earlier? Make speed equal to 0 on collision enter, and then they'll stop. Because we multiplied everything by speed. Oh, was it my speed? Oh, you're right. Oh, sorry about that. So then I'm gonna get my trusty cable, plug it into my computer. Now this is important. If you're actually trying to export right now to Android, there's a few things that you have to set over here, and we can go over this like after the class if you'd like. You can come up and I can show you how to do this. In external tools, you need to link to where your Android SDK is and your Java JDK. Usually Android SDK is in your C users, your username, app data, local, Android SDK. I know it's a mouthful, but that's how it is. And Java JDK is usually in C program files, Java, and it's in there. But yeah, if you have trouble with that, I could show you in a little bit how to do that. But I'm just gonna export over here on my end. So I have already configured everything. So all I have to do now is go to File, Build Settings, plug in my phone, like that, ready to go. Then I'm going to do Add Open Scenes to add the scene that I'm currently in, and then Build and Run. It's going to ask me where I want to save the APK file, save it like to my desktop if I want, doesn't matter, but it'll basically, it'll put it on the phone. So it'll take a sec to do its thing. Hopefully it just works.
To you in any way that it's detecting your phone, or?
Yeah, it tells like not on Unity, but it will tell you here if your phone is not detected when once you're building.
Gotcha.
But yeah, your phone, in order to do build and run, you have to have your phone in debug mode. I can also show you how to do that after the class too if you have trouble with it. But yeah, this is just gonna take a minute or two, and yeah, then I'll have this exported and I'll pass it around so you can all check it out. Hopefully the click will work as well. But yeah, so I hope you all enjoyed this lecture. It was you know, just the basics. This is just the intro level. We're here pretty much every month. We do these kinds of meetups. We're also launching a new initiative called VR Bootcamp. So we're doing an intensive 3-weekend course. So it's Saturday and Sunday. First one is starting on June 17th. You can get more details over here on anyworld.com if you just go on VR Bootcamp. So this is kind of what our course looks like. If you're interested in supporting the community, if you like what you learned today, if you like your instructor, if you think this is something that you want to learn and you want to take it to the next level, obviously I can't fit in that much content into just a 2-hour lecture. But if you really want to take it to the next level and want all the extra tutorials and stuff, I would highly recommend you take one of our boot camps. It's very hands-on, individualized attention. You get homework at the end of every weekend, and at the end you will have your own VR app built on your phone. That is a guarantee, or your money back. So yeah, it's currently on sale. It's $490, and that's for 6 classes. So that's 3 weeks of education. Anytime in between, if you have any issues and stuff, I'm always available online through all sorts of correspondence, through email, through Skype. But yeah, I mean, the classes are very small and hands-on.
How long is each class?
It's 1 to 5, so it's 4 hours in total. The whole bootcamp is 24-hour course, and yes, everything you learned today, we will basically, like the first day will be basically this plus some, and we'll use 3 different example projects to do this. One, you'll be creating this.
Is the bootcamp for iOS as well?
Yes, it is for iOS as well. And yeah, for anyone that signs up for the bootcamp, we will be giving these Go4Ds for free. You will get it as part of the bootcamp. You'll be able to work with it in the bootcamp and take it home with you and keep it for your own app. So I'm just gonna, run this app right here and put it in my phone. This works with any phone, and there it is. So I'm shooting spheres. If anyone wants to check that out, go ahead. So just tap the screen to shoot the spheres. I'm actually going to make another version with a lot more zombies because I feel like all the zombies will walk away by the time the phone comes around. So let's do like a few of these.
Is there a way to restart?
Yeah, you're going to have to like restart the actual app because I didn't put a button.
As far as sound is concerned, could you use earphones?
Yeah. Yeah, you can just plug it into the phone. So just pass that around, or you know what? I can actually just build this second version while that starts coming around.
So I was at Mass Mocha this weekend, and they have a big thing with Lori Anderson the VR project.
I don't know who that is.
You know who Lori Anderson is?
Nope.
Never mind.
Sorry.
Very famous performance artist.
Oh, that's great. Yeah, a lot of you'll notice a lot of artists now are really exploring the VR medium.
But my point is, the headset was this giant, heavy, weighty headset.
So just tap the screen to shoot the balls. Yeah.
And the phone, would be much lighter kind of thing.
Yeah. Well, yeah, definitely. Mobile VR is like the most portable way to do it.
Right.
After you, could I get the phone back, and I'm gonna export this version with more zombies so that everyone can shoot a zombie. These guys will take some time to get there. Pass it over here for a second. Let me just. Donna, wait, you're gonna get it. You're gonna get it next. I promise. I just want more zombies because y'all want to shoot the zombies, right? All right. So I'm gonna build. So yeah, again, if you want any more details on the bootcamp, you can check it out here. If you go over to the news section, you'll see I have a link here to one of our previous bootcamps, which, if you just want the knowledge, we always give away the knowledge. What we're really selling is the hands-on tutoring. So everyone is gonna get hands-on time with their computer, and we're gonna make sure that everyone actually understands their source content. As for the knowledge itself, it's all free. It's all free. We don't sell knowledge. What we really sell is tutoring and the hands-on help. So yeah, if you really want to know what the bootcamp is about, you can just go over to our news section over here and click on this one. You can kind of get an idea of the beginner one. This one will be kind of similar to what we did today. And then, you could do the second part and the third and the fourth, and then they're kind of like some of the more advanced stuff there. But yeah, so let me see. Do we export? Yeah, this one's a little laggier this time. Yes?
Do you have an AR bootcamp?
So that's a great question because I've had people asking me this, and I know the whole Apple stuff just came out and everyone's really hyped about it. I show like a quick 2-hour lecture on Vuforia, which is the AR platform on that. So yeah, so if you do sign up for the bootcamp that we have coming up on June 17th, there will be a lesson dedicated to AR. One of the beauties of working with Unity is that really Unity is generalized knowledge. So if you just have you know, if you're just doing, for example, not even VR or AR, just understanding Unity will prepare you to do VR and AR as well. But yes, we will have one lesson on Vuforia.
But if one didn't want to do one wanted to just concentrate on Euphoria, are there any options?
That's probably going to be our next boot camp. We're going to do something very AR specific. It might not even actually be maybe just around Vuforia. It might be around a bunch of other things. But that one, sadly it's not going to be a Unity beginner tutorial. So if you're a Unity beginner, I still recommend you take our VR bootcamp, because then you'll learn the concepts of Unity. Once you have the concepts of Unity down, the AR bootcamp, which it's, you know, we still haven't developed it. It will probably be maybe in July or early August. But for that one, you will be expected to already know some Unity, as if like coming out of the VR bootcamp. So think of AR bootcamp after will be like an after VR bootcamp. But you need to start somewhere with all the basics of Unity.
Do you schedule for future bootcamps too?
So we just are actually in the middle of one right now. This is a very small one. We have 5 students, and the next one is just this one that we have scheduled right now for June 17th.
So you don't have one planned after that?
We do. It's just not like a specific date yet, but it'll probably be something in July.
Okay.
Yeah.
Is it always going to be on the weekends?
Yes. So we're trying to keep it on the weekends because people have jobs and stuff. So I want to make sure that everyone's schedule works. All right. So I'm gonna pass this version around.
Philip, what's happening with Apple and AR?
They're gonna crush it. They're doing what people.
What phone? With the,
Every phone. It's gonna launch on all the. When? This fall, they say.
What's special about this compared to the other ones?
Well, what's special about it is you don't need any markers. So Vuforia, what you need, you were next, right? So yeah, just pass it around over there.
Thank you.
And just tap the screen to shoot the balls. So with Vuforia, the thing about that AR is you need to print markers. And you need to put them on the table, and that's cool. You know, you can show a client that, and I'm like, whoa, you know, this is my product in AR. But the Apple stuff that's coming out right now, it's actually using computer vision, no markers. You can detect that something is a table or surface, no markers. And it just works with Unity. No markers. And it works with Unity. So everything that I just created in Unity, you can see these zombies like with your iPad just walking on the table. That's what you're able to do.
Is it creating a mesh?
Kind of. Like it has
It has like a Project Tango mesh.
even simpler than that. It's using just the camera lenses. Like it's using just what's called computer vision, basically AI, to recognize surface.
So it'll recognize the surface and the angle and the shape
Yep.
of the table.
Yep.
So you say, oh, that's really interesting.
Yeah, you've seen that thing where they take a picture of a document and it can
Yeah,
fit.
yeah.
That's that same technology
As
being
long as it's
applied
not
to
too
real life.
complex, right?
Nope.
So simple table, couch, chair, like this classroom,
Yep.
but not like a really detailed scene. It'll do that. Oh, well, I have to watch. It was the World Developer Con.
Yep.
I'll look in the video. Okay?
Yeah, it's pretty cool stuff. Honestly, like, you know, if you learn Unity before the fall, and when this stuff comes out, you're gonna see people asking left and right for people to develop projects with it. So I think it's a very exciting time to get into all this.
Transactional ability with this Apple.
I don't know.
Somebody was asking me, can you develop an app where I can buy things? I have all these dresses lined in a circle.
I mean, there's other methods to do that,
Yeah.
but yeah, specifically what the real advantage is right now is that the real computer vision aspect of it. So no markers, AR, and it's, you know, I think they kept mentioning Pokemon Go, so they were really inspired by that, and they were saying, like, you know, that they saw it as really the future in the way that apps are going to get developed. And I personally believe this as well. VR is great. HTC Vive is amazing. I mean, you can transport yourself to another world. Some people here might have tried it. If not, something that you might not know about our meetup as well. So when we hosted here at ThoughtWorks, over on the other side is something called Hardware Hack Lab. So Hardware Hack Lab has like everything. Like if you want to try HoloLens, if you want to try HTC Vive and stuff, they have a HoloLens. Yeah, I can't guarantee that it's maybe there. Maybe someone's developing something with it right now. But usually people kind of get together over there and work on all sorts of projects. They usually have an HTC Vive running over there. So, you know, if anyone hasn't tried one, you know, maybe ask them over there. They're a very friendly group. Yeah. You know, we hang out here till like 12 and stuff. You know, it's like I said, this is a very laid back and chill group.
Is it going on right now?
Yeah, Hardware Hack Lab is happening right now, I think.
So what do you think about
They're every weekend.
Are you gonna bet on it? I mean, as far as
I'm not gonna bet on it. I mean, I already bet on all of this when I learned Unity a long time ago. I was the one convincing a company to use Unity. And they were like, "What's Unity?" I'm using Objective-C. You know, like, listen, like Unity, man. Like, you make it in this, and it works for Android and iOS. Like, what do you mean, man? Something must be up with this. And this was like 5 years ago. So imagine, like, people were like flabbergasted that like you could, you know, learn one IDE and develop on everything.
Would you? So obviously, you have a preference to Unity over Unreal.
Yes.
Can you talk about that a little bit?
So yeah, I can actually. So Unreal, everyone knows it. It has better graphics, supposedly. In Unity, like I've grown to understand the Unity engine, and you can actually achieve pretty much the same graphical quality as you can in Unreal. Except in Unreal, it's kind of like Unreal assumes what kind of project you want to make. So if you ever just open Unreal, the first thing it'll ask you is, what do you want to make? You want to make a shooting game? You want to make a puzzle game? You want to make a racing game? You know, for me, it's like, and other people like that, you know, and they click it and they, oh, I want to make a puzzle game. And then they tweak things and they're like, look, I made a beautiful puzzle game or whatever. But Unity, you know, it opens and it's just blank. You saw that. Like, it starts with nothing. Now, some people find that scary. And they're like, oh my God, you know. But it gives you full control. That's what I like about it. With Unity, I've not only just developed, you know, maybe like little games and applets and VR and stuff, but you can develop an app. Like, you can make an app with buttons and, you know, wallpaper backgrounds and all sorts of things. You can develop Android live wallpapers with Unity, for example. Like, you can,
Really?
yeah, you could render 360 videos inside Unity, for example. I don't know if Unreal does that. It probably does, but
More accessible.
it's definitely more accessible. It has a larger community. I think the learning curve is smaller. The one thing that people prefer in Unreal is it's not scripting, but it's the visual scripting. It's the Kismet or whatever.
Is it like
Unreal
Animator?
script. Well, here's the thing, right? So if you actually take this on as a career and you start, you know, you take on a real project, these projects get complex really quick. Even the simplest thing that you might think is a simple project, it gets to be pretty complex. If you do it node-based, like how Unreal does it, you link everything. Have you ever seen an Unreal project like that someone's working on for a few months? That thing looks like a spider web. Like, look at that. You know, it's just a tangle of like connections, and
It doesn't use any scripting?
I mean, it does C++ if you're that hardcore and you want to do C++, but most people use the U script. And they like to connect the nodes, but I've seen those nodes get very messy very quick.
So that reminds me of Max MSP.
It's kind of similar, yeah. Most, you know, it's more geared towards like hardcore 3D designers and stuff. They're already used to using that. They're used to the material workflow. But Unity has actually started to, you know, catch up quite well with that. And Unity is also going to be releasing their new renderer, Unity Octane, which is pretty much gonna, you know, almost be just as good, if not better, than what Unreal is gonna have.
Is that like Cinema 4D Octane renderer?
It's the Octane renderer in real time in Unity. So that's what Unity is gonna look like in less than a year. Yes, it is gonna be available on the free version completely. It's literally gonna be photorealistic. Now, again, you're still learning Unity. Every year, you get this little treat, and Unity launches, like, you know, you got like a team of thousands of engineers developing features. You are just the developer of the end user developer. You benefit from all of these new technologies that Unity brings in. You know, VR, for example, like, same thing. All we had to do was go down into Unity, check on VR supported, and you're doing VR. So Unity did all of that for you. It simplified it. So they're going to be releasing things like this, photorealistic film-like rendering, and it's all gonna work in the same environment. So the scripting is all gonna stay the same, the editor is all gonna stay the same. It's just the graphics are gonna get better, more hardware is gonna get supported. And when I started doing Unity, all they had was Android, iOS, web, Mac, and Windows. Now they have Linux too. You can deploy to Linux. Like, if you know what Linux is, it's like you can do a full 3D game in Linux. You know, that was like Linux community bugged out because they were like, all of a sudden Linux will now have games. You know. But you know, now they have everything. They even have BlackBerry on there. I mean, it's I'm not even kidding. They have Samsung TV. You can deploy. You know, you got a client that needs Samsung TV. You want to move to Korea for some reason? You can develop for Samsung TV. You know, like, but it all starts with the same basic stuff. It starts with the plane. Starts with the grass texture. You know, you gotta get start somewhere. You know, you move it around and stuff. But yeah, my goal is just to really just show you how simple this all is. Once you get your feet wet, then you can really take it to the next level. And I have students from years ago that, you know, they're not working. And, you know, sometimes we have an advanced session and all the people from back in the day show up, you know, and then we're all sharing our trades and our skills and stuff. So you'll notice that the Unity community is very open. So look at this. This is, if y'all watch, what's that called? Westworld. Westworld was rendered with Unity. The intro to Westworld was rendered in Unity in real time. Nope.
It was Unity?
Same, the Octane in Unity, yeah. That was like one of the things they were bragging about, I believe. So, yeah.
So now the node thing, is that a new thing in Unity?
I'm not sure what they're showing here. I think this is it's Octane specific stuff, I believe. But yeah, it's pretty cool stuff that they're gonna be coming out with, and they're always coming out with new stuff. The community is really great. If you ever build a game or you build something, there's a lot of support out there to get your game to the right places. I know a lot of people too. You know, if you tell me like I built a game and stuff, you know, you can put it in front of the right people, get it to game jams, get it to, you know, some competitions and stuff, and not even games, you know, other things as well. But yeah, there's plenty of opportunity, and really the industry is looking for creative individuals. You don't need to be a programmer, you know. You can, you'll fit right in. But like, if you're a designer, if you're a 3D modeler, even if you're an audio person, you just do audio. This has a lot of tools that will make sense to you. As 3D spatial audio, very easy to configure. So yeah, I mean it's very robust, and I definitely have put my bets behind Unity.
I hope so.
So your workshops are starting in the end of June?
June 17th. You can find all the details on anyworld.com, and if you go, or anyworld.com/VR Bootcamp. But it's right down here. If you go to the education programs, we have it right there, and you'll see in our courses, it's right here. So June 17th, Beginner VR Bootcamp.
So this isn't your company?
Anyworld? Yes.
Do you do any private tutoring?
Well, this is as close to private tutoring as we do the bootcamp stuff. We do consulting though. If you have a specific project in mind and stuff, we are a VR agency. We do all sorts of Unity VR development. We do host events such as this, or other types of events like what we're going to be doing tomorrow at Northside. So yeah, you know, we can host booths. We're going to have a Kinect VR booth. Yeah.
Oh, so you're still doing that?
I think I had a few questions over here. You were first, yeah.
Oh, what are you doing in Northside?
Kinect VR. So yeah, we're gonna be at Station 3. We're gonna have a little Kinect VR game there. And if some of you don't know what Kinect VR is, it's an open source framework that I developed. It's something I'm actually kind of known for in the tech scene.
Does it cost to see your demo?
No, I mean actually I don't know if it costs to get into Northside.
Is this the free thing, or is it like the one that's charged for all the?
I don't know.
Is this the one where they show off the stuff? I mean, there's two.
Yeah, it's the immersive playground. So that's.
I'll look it up and see if it's free.
Yeah.
So that's Kinect and VR mixed together.
Basically gives you full body positional tracking in mobile VR. So you can see your body Don't need an HTC Vive, nothing, and just works with mobile. And you can positional track. You can go under a table. You can do all sorts of things like that. It's all open source.
Where is the Connect, where does the Connect
Stands in front of you.
in front of you?
Yeah.
Right.
Yes.
I just heard that Blender just launched the beta version of real-time engine.
Cycles?
Yeah. I'm not sure exactly what it is because I never worked with a real-time engine.
I mean, well, Blender has a game engine built into it, but I think what you're talking about is the rendering cycles.
No, it's not.
What you talking
I
about?
wish I know about this to ask the question.
It's okay. I'm not going anywhere.
Okay.
So what I thought she meant was Cycles renderer actually gives you like photorealistic rendering right off the bat. Oh. So if you have like so you can do, you can do glass.
Does your bootcamp go realistic?
This is Blender. It doesn't. Blender is like, it's just 3D modeling.
Okay.
It's like, in the bootcamp, you're gonna be able to build things with stuff that I show you how you can pull it off of online. Honestly, most of the stuff that I've built, some of the time I have to go in and I have to model an environment or something. But honestly, like, you could spend 2 months modeling the perfect tree. Or you could just download a tree. Your clients won't notice the difference. Like, it's really like how you spend your time, and you learn. What's really important is this. Like when you can make something and put it and put it in your client's face on their face, then whether you spend 2 months making the perfect flower in 3D, or you just pulled something off the internet for $5, like. Honestly, a lot of the time, the professional artists probably have been doing it for 20 years. They're doing amazing art already. Yeah?
After the bootcamp, if I want to ask some questions, will you still be available?
Yes, absolutely. We always do these things as well. A lot of times people, after the boot camps, they come to our meetups. Sometimes we do like little kind of like get-togethers for people that were at the boot camps to just see like what people are working on and stuff. But yeah, like if you complete the boot camp and you end up working on a project and stuff, feel free to email me stuff if you have problems or if you want some advice or something. I try to make myself as available as I can. One of my models in life is never be too busy. Even when you are too busy, it's always good to leave a little bit of room to breathe, and you never know what kind of interesting people you meet or what kind of interesting projects people are working on. And yeah, I'm really passionate about seeing people succeed, and really makes me happy when someone came in 6 months ago, didn't know nothing about Unity, and now they got a job. And I'm just like, that's amazing. Good for you. Because there's a demand, and this is only exponentially increasing. Yeah.
After the bootcamp, you take on small projects? After the bootcamp, you take on like small freelance projects?
Do I? Or you mean you said? Yeah. Oh, yeah. Like you'll see, like if you go on LinkedIn and stuff, you'll see how many recruiters are recruiting people that are doing VR development for Unity specifically. They're looking for people. Yeah, I mean it's most of the time, like at the end of the bootcamp, you'll have at least like 2 or 3 different types of apps to work with. But yeah, at the end of the bootcamp, you'll be comfortable with all of the major Unity and VR development components. So you'll actually then know what kind of app you want to build and what's possible and what's not. And then I would recommend, just build yourself out a portfolio. By the end of the bootcamp, you'll already have a little bit of a portfolio for yourself. Each student can kind of customize the bootcamp's lesson plan on their own. Like it really depends on, like I'll tell you, to use this kind of environment, but people can use another kind of environment, and everyone's work at the end kind of looks different. Yeah. It's not everyone ends up with the same thing, but it's generally the same thing. Like it's a music video or it's like a shooting game, but yeah. So at the end of it, like you'll have a little bit of a portfolio. And then I would ask you like what you want to work on. and make a piece around that. Like make a little demo. Oh yeah, you're right. Make a little demo, and that's what you show your clients. Make yourself a little demo reel on YouTube. Put it up on Craigslist. Put it up on LinkedIn. Put it up all over the place. You will get hit up. It usually starts with a little project, but then before you know it, it ends up being a position. Because yeah, I mean it's a really valuable skill to have.
With the VR stuff, it's like you can create any type of game and just send in the SDK and then that's it.
Kind of, yeah. I mean, there's, maybe input, like, depends on if you're using HTC Vive or something. Maybe you want to use the triggers. So there's some platform-specific settings you have to do. But in essence, if you have everything built out in Unity, you can just throw the SDK in there and you're in it. Yes.
Is there a good resource for learning how to use all the controllers?
Not like one that I can point to and be like, watch that video. But I'll tell you what's a good one. If you're an HTC Vive or Oculus developer, check out VRTK. It's called VR Toolkit. And this guy has a Patreon and he gets paid like $1,600, $1,700 a month, and he just makes this open source VR toolkit. So basically, if you check this out, it's on GitHub. It's the VR toolkit. It's like everything you need to get started, like every kind of example that you would want for like HTC Vive. They have the bow and arrow, they have climbing, and then you could kind of pull it apart and work with it in there. But I highly recommend this one if you want to get started. It'll definitely give you a boost. Just VRTK. It's got this like flying pig with the headset on.
Is there something for the gear?
Oh, thank you for coming, man. It's all of you that really make the community. So glad you enjoyed it.
So
Yes.
I have two questions.
Yes.
One is the deadline for your bootcamp discount.
Oh, I mean the discount is for the whole month.
Okay, for the whole
Yeah, because we're planning, for these first few ones. Everyone's really special, and the class sizes are going to be small, so we're keeping it at that price. But probably the next versions that we're going to do is going to be like the AR bootcamp or something like that, and that's going to be at the full price. But for now, don't worry about it. As long as you sign up before, the discount will be there.
I really see the benefit of it because my 2 weeks of learning in front of computer, I just learned within 2 hours. And the second question is, I just found the Blender real-time engine. It's called EV. And what is the benefit of 3D modeling software real-time engine have to do with Unity? If you know that question.
Well, I mean, Blender, before Unity was really a thing, some people used Blender as their game engine.
Yeah.
So Blender, if you know Python and stuff, you can do some of the stuff that Unity does in Blender. It's just Blender is not that, it's really not that user-friendly like Unity is. Yeah, it's not. So definitely Unity has a huge advantage over Blender's game engine. Yeah, no problem. Yeah, just stay tuned on the meetup page and on anyworld.com. I'll be posting this video up after. Y'all
Did
can
you
watch.
also videotape your Northside Festival one?
Yeah, of course we will. Yeah, we will definitely. We will definitely record that.
You definitely have multiple bootcamps, right? Because I can make it for the first week, but the